hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
We're on run away tonight. Move and leave everything behind. The evil's coming out tonight. And the earth will be destroyed.
Welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, May 21st, 2023. One more week and May is over. The year is flying by again, just like last year, but it's a good one so far. And hopefully next week with Memorial Day coming here in the States, the weather will start warming up a little bit here on the East Coast. We had an actually better February and March and almost the beginning of April than we have in May. It's been a little kind of cold and damp here, so I'm ready to get into that pool. So let's hope for some 90-degree weather this week. But right there, Crossfire with Demon of Evil. That's how we kicked off tonight's show. And we got a great one for everybody tonight. Rick Hunolt, it is Hugh and not Hunolt, of DieHumane, and formerly of Exodus, and Rocky Shades of Wrathchild, tonight's guest. We couldn't have two guests playing two more different styles of metal music than we have tonight. But both of them are great in what they do, and I love both of them. All right, let's keep the music flowing here. How about some Aaron's Rod? Hardest.
dreadlessly. Memories of the constant time are beginning to weave. Darkness closes all around me. I'm lost in my dream world. Space and time collided up. The universe is hurled. Where is this place I haven't done? No sight, no sound, I can't speak. Don't know where I am, and I feel so weak. Reigns in this place, the laws of darkness control this place. Reigns in this place, the laws of darkness and the rain. Shadows and shapes of no form, constant movement beyond the norm. But the things are not involved, our reality dissolved. Through dimensions never travel, secret meanings once unravel. Out of forces and inner pressure, to a man to our measure. I'm trapped here, I knew forever. These ties I cannot sever. My breath was weak and I'm beginning to swear. The end is near my final day. The allies raised in this place. The laws of darkness control this space. The allies raised in this place. The laws of darkness and the human race are in control. Are in control. Are in control. Are in control.
All right, the darlings of the 2023 festival circuit, Exciter. I think they've headlined every single festival in Europe and in America, and there's still a few more to come this year, and I'm sure they'll be right up there on the bill headlining one night or the other. And this is what I was talking about it, like, I talk about it all the time actually, but, Exciter, I think, headlined Hell's Heroes. I believe that they're playing the Gates of LA Festival also, or maybe that's Ride 5 also play every festival. They're at the Blades of Steel Festival. I think they might be at the Legions of Metal. I got to double check. I'm sure they are. They were just at Hammers this weekend, which had a really good crowd, it looked like, and a lot of people turned out for that. They play at Keep It True. So, if you have a limited amount of money and you could go see a festival, are you going to go to Milwaukee and Chicago? Or are you going to fly over to Athens, go to Greece, or go to Germany to see these bands? I would probably go to Athens or Greece. Athens, Greece, or in Germany, not here in the U.S. So maybe these promoters need to start getting together, talking to each other, say, you know what? If you're going to have these 2 or 3 bands for headliners, I'm going to look for somebody else this year. Maybe let's move away from the Riots and the Exciters. I know next year already, Jack Panzer just started jumping on the festival circuit this year, but when the album comes out, they'll probably headline more next year. But Warlord, mark my word, I've said this 10 times so far this year, Warlord will be the flavor of the month next year at all the festivals. Warlord will be playing and headlining every single festival. Either that or they'll be on there with Sirith Ungol, who also get to play with Night Demons. So that'll be the way it goes. All right, let's do our demolition segment, get this out of the way. Thanks to the, Metal Forces magazine's demolition article every month. When I first started trading tapes in 80, 81, 82, when I was really heavily into it and, trading demos and bootlegs, you had no idea who you were getting or what bands they were most of the time because I had pen pals all over the city and state, all over the country. I had friends in Italy and London and had people out in California and Michigan and other places. And they would send me a lot of local bands and I would send them the local bands from here. And that's how we got to know who all the different underground bands were back in the day. There was no internet and there really were no magazines. Back then it was Hit Parader and Circus Magazine, which would never feature any of those bands, never the underground metal scene. Kerrang came out, we started getting here as an import, but it was kind of expensive. So I only kind of bought the ones that had like some real heavy metal bands on the front. They focused more on metal in the 80s when it got bigger, but they had a lot of different music on there. And then Metal Forces came out, then the Demolition segment started, and I got to find out a ton of bands just by reading that magazine. It was I think it was like $10 when it came out back then in our money, in U.S. money back in 82, 83, whenever the magazine started. And that was a lot of money for a kid, to come up with when you could have bought like 2 records for that money. Because records were like $4.99 back then. But I discovered so many bands for that Demolition segment. That's why we do this every week. So this week's band is Future Tense, a band out of the Netherlands. I've tried for like the last 15 years I've had this show on to get somebody from this band on the show. It just never worked out. I'm hoping in the future I can get somebody. I know the guitar player, Rainier, is in a band called Yosh, and they just re-released his records from that label. The label just re-released those albums that he put out with that band, and I think they're looking for promotion. So I'm going to reach out to that label, see if I can get in touch with him and have him on the show. It'll be pretty cool to get to talk to somebody from this band. All right, but they had two great demos out in the early days. 82, that Protect Your Ears, and 83, it was a Battle of Metal before the Condemned to the Gallows EP came out in 84. And then after that, there was another one called Swords of Vengeance, which came out in 2003. I think it was more of a compilation of songs that weren't released back in the day. But I really like this guys a lot. I was a big fan and still am till today. So let's get on a song off that second demo tape. How about we do, I don't know, I gotta get the best sounding one. Here's Nightmare.
Night in the sun, yellow hell with me.
right, Mass with Fire from Hell. We're going to get to Rick Hunolt in about 5 minutes. We'll play some classic Exodus before then. His new band, DieHumane, it's definitely a mixed bag of nuts musically. I think it's different than anything else out there. A lot of the old fans who think it's going to sound like Exodus might be a little disappointed, but it's a unique record. Let's just put it that way. All right, let me see. We had Jamie Jaster on last week. He's got his Milwaukee Metal Fest coming up next weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Anthrax and one of the headliners, and I just saw now that Charlie Benante is not going to be able to make that show, so they got a fill-in drummer coming in that night. I think it was Derek Tropy or something. I'm not even sure because he's playing with the new lineup of Pantera. So to me, something is wrong when you're not playing with your primary band, the band that you've been a part of for 40 years, a band that is technically, at least in their mind, part of the Big Four, to go out and play with Pantera, who has one original member in the group, and they're out playing, I guess, bigger places and arenas and stadiums and festivals than Anthrax is playing. But that's kind of fucked up, I mean, Anthrax is your band. When they play, and Pantera has to get a replacement. That's the way it should be. It goes to show you where his priorities are. And it seems to never really be with Anthrax, if you ask me. And it's like that with quite a few bands. I mean, we have Rick from Exodus on tonight. Gary, he put Exodus on the back burner for almost a decade while he was playing with Slayer. That was your band, your bread and butter. You knew Slayer wasn't going to last forever. They were wrapping it up. I know you were getting paid and making a steady paycheck, which you want, but you forgot all about Exodus. And you know what? They fell through the cracks, and, it's like starting over again with that band. I just don't get it. When you're in your primary band, that should always be the priority, come first. I don't know how the rest of the guys in Anthrax tolerate that, because Charlie Benante misses an awful lot of Anthrax shows for one reason or another. Either he was in jail for something that goes on, or he's got carpal tunnel syndrome or something. There's always a problem with him that he can't make a show or a tour. Who the hell knows? But it is what it is. All right, let's get to some. I was going to say Anthrax. Let's get to some Exodus. We'll talk to Rick, and then the second half of the show, we got the mighty Rocky Shades from Wrathchild. He's always a fun interview, and he's a jabberjaw. I'm sure he's got a lot to say. So here you go. And then there were none.
What's that? So running. I'm running.
This is Mike. How are you?
Mike, what's going on?
How are you, my friend? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to talk to you today, my friend.
No, the pleasure's all mine, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm more happy that you're back. It's been a lot of years, but I'm glad that you
It
came
has
back
been
with
a lot of years,
DieHumane.
bro.
How did
Right
this all
on. I
happen to
appreciate
you?
it.
How'd this happen?
Well, okay, so about a year and a half ago, I was sitting on my couch, and I got a call from a dear friend of mine, Steve Esquivel from Skin Lab. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
But we grew up together in East Bay, and we've been real tight for forever. He calls me up, and he goes, man, I know these cats in Texas that are writing this crazy music that are looking for a guitar player, and you were the first one I thought of. And I'm like, really? Well, I wasn't really even trying to be in a band right then, or it wasn't on my mind because I got kids and all this other stuff. But I go ahead, Steve, send me some music. So he sent me 2 real rough cuts of Skeletons and Ghost, I believe, were the first ones I heard, and Ghost was the first one I heard, and I was like, damn, this is crazy music. I started listening to it more and more, and I was like, man, I really started to dig the music, man. I was like, 'cause, if I was gonna be in another band, I wanted to do something different, bro. So this was right up my alley. I was like, damn, this is cool. So I got a hold of the guys, Josh and Garrett and Greg, and we just sat around and talked and got to know each other for a while. And then Josh kept sending me new cuts, and I was like, I fell in love with the music, dude. So after about, I'd probably say about 5 or 6 months after like us just communicating and talking and all this other stuff, I finally committed and started playing to the music and was starting to come up with some pretty cool stuff. I was like, so I made the commitment, and I ended up going down to Wrathchild studio in LA and recorded all my solos down there in about 3 days and finished up all my parts on the album, and here I am.
And what a great album it is. And, for a lot of people, they think now, if you're a part of it, it's got to be like Exodus. And it could be the furthest thing from the truth. There's no way to really describe this album.
I know, it's true. It's I'll be completely honest, Mike. So when all the music was written and my solos were done, and it was in the mixing stages, Ulrich sat with it for, I'm not sure how long it took him to mix it, quite a while, because this is not easy music to mix. So, man, with my background and everything, and I spent damn near half my life in Exodus, and and my brain, because I'm an artist, dude, and my brain is like going, man, I just crazy, just worried sick about if the Exodus people were gonna like it, if the metal fans were gonna like it, if it was just because it's so different, you know what I mean? But I stuck to my guns, dude, and because I love the music, and I just said, fuck it, let's put it out, dude, let's just put it out, and until Oblivion was put out, I was a nervous wreck, bro. Then, I saw it was getting good reception, and I was like, such a relief, man, off my shoulders. It was like, wow, thank God. You know what I mean?
It is getting a lot of great reviews.
Special.
Yeah.
It is, man. It's just getting the reception. I can't complain, bro. I'm just so, you know what? Honestly, I'm just so proud of the metal community, how open-minded they are, It's a lot different nowadays than it was 20 years ago. And I just think that people are they're ready for new. That's all. I really think they are. And I just appreciate every one of them. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. I was just going to say, if this record came out in 85, 86, after Bonded by Blood, people would be scratching their heads. They're like, what the hell's he thinking? Where's he going with this? But, 30, 40 years later, we've got a younger generation of metalheads that have come up listening to our music that we grew up with and played and were part of, and they've got their newest stuff, and they're willing to open up to anything that comes out. But let's be honest, good music is good music, no matter what genre, what it's mixed with. It just has to be good.
Yeah, I understand. I totally get it. Yep. And I took a chance, bro. And I'm just so proud of the metal community. I couldn't be happier. I'm really stoked. I'm stoked for because the other guys, everybody except for Sal, Sal's got a lot of experience, but Greg and Josh, they don't have a lot of live performance experience. They're great songwriters, but I just can't wait to get on stage with them and be a part of that whole them being. It's going to be awesome. I'm telling you, it's going to be really fun.
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, everybody knows who you are. They know Sal from Life of Agony and A Pale Horse Named Death and all the other bands he's been a part of. The other guys are kind of new to a lot of people out there. But when you said that this was kind of thrown your way and you were like, I'm not really interested in, being in another band right now. When you did commit to it, did you say, I'm all in and whatever it takes, we're going to make it work?
That's exactly what I did. Yep. I first I sat down with my kids and I said, I played them a couple songs and I'm like, dude, I have this. I have an opportunity here to record this album and see where it takes us. And what do you guys think? They were the first two I asked. I said, what do you guys think? And they said, Dad, they were all in. Dude, you got to do it, Dad. This is great music. You got to do it. And I was like, I got on the phone the next day and I said, Josh, I'm in. That's it.
That was fantastic. And, in the future now with new music, I guess all of you guys are going to be more involved in the songwriting process now that you've all come together as a unit.
100%. Yeah, we've already started. We got some new stuff that we're going to be more, we're going to be dropping singles periodically, like, I don't know, once every 3 months or something. We got some collaborations going on too that are pretty big. We got a lot of stuff in the can right now. So, but this album just released a week ago, so the next phase right now is to get on stage. We want to get this music tight, get it sounding like the album, and then get on stage and see what happens.
I'm sure it's going to be great. Rick, when you put out almost 20 years since, you parted ways with Exodus and gotten back into music again full time. Doing this. So
yes,
when this record comes out now, does it still give you that same feeling like you did in 85 when Bonded came out and it was like my debut record, I'm a kid. It's a lot of years later, but it's still a new record, a new band, a new experience. You still have that like a little bit of a rush that you get?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot different with the social media, because when Exodus, my time in Exodus, there was no social media.
Yeah.
From 83 to 2006, there was no social media. So it wasn't, music business was a lot, it's a whole new game. It's a whole new game. It's crazy. So, me coming into the new music business in a new band, having to learn how to use Instagram, it's crazy,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of work, bro. But you got to get those follows and those likes and the content and all this other stuff. It's a learning curve for me, for sure, dude, for sure. But
It's hard.
To answer the question, I'm lucky. I couldn't be. I'm a lucky guy, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, these kids, they go on Instagram, they click a couple of buttons, they've got everything on there. You tell them that back in the day, I went around putting flyers up on telephone poles with a staple gun or some tape. They look at you like you were crazy.
No, but that's exactly what happened. That's exactly how we got it. I can't even begin to tell you how many flyers I put on telephone poles in Berkeley, California. All day long we'd go out there. All the money we had to print these flyers and get them out. But it worked, it was a thing, and it was really cool to be a part of that whole. I'm lucky, man. Like I said, that the Bay Area and New York too. We had some phenomenal, dude. New York was just as much as part of our scene as the Bay Area was, as far as I'm concerned, with L'Amour's and L'Amour's East and the Ritz, and dude, we had some amazing shows in New York. Just like legendary, incredible shows, like badass.
Absolutely. That's the first time I saw you guys was at L'Amour in 84, 85 when you came around.
Man, that was like my favorite club in the whole world to play besides Ruthie, I'm telling you. That place was amazing, dude.
It really was.
It was incredible, man. And I also, some years later, I was lucky enough to be able to play CBGB's too, and that was incredible. That was like probably the sweatiest, hottest gig I ever played in my life. But that place is like iconic, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's long gone now, like L'Amour, and like a lot of the places we went to when we were kids growing up. But they were great memories. And I think about California back in the day, the Bay Area. Was the scene really that consolidated up there, like with, you guys, Metallica, Testament? I can name a million bands that came from the area back in the day. Was it was it just such a united scene up there that you kind of like kept it to yourselves up there?
Um, yeah, because, well, honestly, dude, because the only thing that we knew that was going on anywhere else in the United States, because there was no, like I said, the only thing we had, I don't even know if MTV was happening when Bonded by Blood came out. I don't think so. But, you know, the fanzines and tape trading was the only way that we got our shit out there, right? So, and the only band that we knew of that was doing anything close to what we were doing on the West Coast was Anthrax, right? The first time when we released Bonded by Blood, we headed over to New York. The first thing we did was go to New York with Slayer and Venom, I believe. And Scott was Danny Lilker and Scott and everybody was so cool, bro. It was like, man, you guys are playing the same shit over here too. Wow, what a trip! It was wild, dude. It was really wild. It was wild. But yeah, we had a good thing going in the Bay Area, man. A lot of us.
It's true. Nobody knew what the other ones were doing. Yeah, but nobody knew what the other ones were doing. But we had no internet, like you says. We didn't. If you weren't trading tapes with somebody from another area of the country, then you had no idea. There were very few magazines, very few fanzines. Kerrang didn't really write about a lot of stuff. You know, Metal Forces came out around that time. We were finally able to hear a little bit about what was going on in other places. But you're right; it was all tape trading back then that got the word out.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, isn't it? I mean, you know, and the people that are, you know, and you know, honestly, to be honest, dude, back then. Without people like Sam Kress and Ron Quintana and Brian Liu and Lars had a huge thing to do with the tape trading scene back then, you know?
No, he absolutely did.
He was really, really into it, dude. He was, I mean, like he was one of the very first guys. Him and Ron Quintana, and it's a pretty amazing story, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was pen pals with Ron Quintana back then. That's how I got one of your tapes and one of Metallica's rehearsal tapes early on. It was.
So you're a lifer, dude. You're a lifer.
I've been here a long time. But that's what it's all about, you know. And when you think about it, did you guys realize that what you were doing back then was something completely new and different, and that you were creating a scene that didn't exist at the time, or a sound of music that really wasn't heard anywhere else?
No, I mean, we really didn't think of it like that until much later, until we actually witnessed it happening. You know what I mean? Kill 'Em All came out, and Bonded by Blood should have come out way before that. But we got held up by record companies. You know, Torrid. You know the story, right?
Yeah.
Todd and Ken from Torrid and all this. Yeah, we got held up, but that's okay. I mean, you know, it is what it is. No, but I mean, being in the middle of it, like being in it, doing it. Never thought about, you know, what thrash could become. I mean, look at Metallica, dude. It's unreal. To answer your question, no one in their right mind ever dreamed of it being this big.
True.
I tell you that right now. None of us. I mean, East Coast, West Coast, none of us had any idea. We were just playing our guitars, bro. That's it. You know, it was crazy.
It's true. Nobody thought it would go anywhere. It was just a bunch of kids creating some new sounds and playing it, and then all of a sudden, Ride the Lightning comes out.
Emulating our heroes.
Yeah.
Emulating our heroes, you know?
Yeah.
Like just all the Euro sound, like Priest and Sabbath, and they all came from England, really, you know what I mean? It's like, and we were just trying to emulate those. And then when, you know, the newer blood, like us and Anthrax, we just incorporated that punk rock to the metal. And it became fast, you know. And this is before the term thrash metal even was invented. It was.
That's right.
Back then, it was speed metal, right? And
yep.
We thrashed on our side of the country, and you guys moshed over there, and it was like, you know, it was crazy, dude, to be a part of it. You know, like me and you, we were right in the middle of that shit, dude. I mean, if you were pen paling with Ron Quintana, you've been there since day one. Metal Mania #1.
Absolutely. Right? I still got all my Metal Manias. I got every one of them still.
Wow. Dude,
I don't
that's crazy.
I'm like an archive. I don't get rid of anything.
Dude, you need to, do you ever talk to Ron?
Not in probably 40 years. Not since we had pen and paper and stamps.
Oh, dude, you should reach out to him on social media, dude, and tell him that you have all your Metal Manias. He would be so happy.
Yeah.
He lives for that kind of shit, bro. He owns a bookstore in Grass Valley, California. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I would just, dude. Yeah, he's a super cool human being, bro. Just an awesome dude. And he still lives for this shit. Honestly, he sells and collects all this shit for a living. He does it.
I got to find him on
He's
Facebook
really cool.
and reach out to him again.
Oh,
I got to
you
remember
should,
me
man.
from
You
that
can't-
many years ago, but what the hell?
Dude, yeah, just say, look, man, I was pen paling with you 40 years ago, and I own every Metal Mania ever in existence. He'll go, what the fuck, dude? What's up? I mean, he'd love to hear from him. I'm sure of it.
I'm going to have to reach
That's
out
awesome.
to him.
But you know what? If you think about it, man, I mean, kind of, it's kind of full circle with DieHumane, because now we're taking the metal, but we're opening a new door, right, so to speak. Because no one's doing what we're doing, and it's kind of like I wouldn't say taking a chance, but we're putting it out there, dude. We're doing what we're doing because we love it. But maybe it will open some more doors for these kids to not be scared to be different just because of record companies and all this other shit. You know what I mean? I mean, it means a lot to me, that the evolution of our music, right?
It should, and I think you've come to a great place musically with DieHumane. I know there's going to be more coming like that in the future. I mean, are you planning on trying to hit the road? I mean, it's not that easy to get on the road these days. The prices, the expenses, the money, touring, it's so hard today.
No, it is. It's damn near impossible. But you know what? I think that we got a bunch of smart people on our team, and the next move that we're making is right. Getting this music tight, getting it sounding like the album, and then hitting the road. But we're not going to go out for like 2 months at a time. We're gonna do like 2-week runs and maybe some big one-offs. You know what I mean? They're not going to be. It's going to be quality as opposed to quantity. You know what I'm saying? With this band.
I think that's better, isn't it? I mean, if you're together for too long, isn't that when things kind of start to go wrong?
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, if you're in this business to make money, I think you're in the wrong business, for one. It's ridiculously tough, this business, and it's changing every day. Every day it changes so much. You know what I mean? The record companies are just sitting back in their chairs going, we don't have a fucking clue what's going on.
It's true.
It is true. It's like, it's changing something. Now we got AI becoming, a thing. It's a thing, and who knows what's going to happen with AI and music? You just never know.
It's crazy. Somebody, I can't remember who it was. It's probably some kid who knows how to use all this technology and stuff. I can barely use a regular telephone these days, but they created something.
Yeah,
They
no
took,
shit.
I think, Dio and Lemmy, and they put them into a duet of another song by another artist, and it sounds just like them doing it. I'm like, they're going to start recreating things from the dead. I mean, nobody would even know the difference anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Dude, a Chat GPT. I mean, kids are like putting in a little phrase, and then they're getting a whole essay for school. It's just written automatically, like in minutes. So who knows? You put in an artist's name, and the AI will just. What if you put in like 2 artist names, and they mash them together, and it just turns in? I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, Rose. See what happens.
I can never figure that stuff out. I'm an old school guy. I'm like 2 cups and a string to talk to people.
Yeah, no doubt, dude, no doubt. Well, we'll see. I mean, we're just gonna keep plugging away and see. I'm just so happy that it's getting received well. That was the biggest thing. Is like, man, I was so freaked out that people were gonna hate it, because it was too different. You know what I mean? But it's got metal roots. It is metal.
Absolutely.
It's just not thrash. It's just.
It draws from a lot of different elements of music, from progressive to jazz to industrial to you name it. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in there, but you can mix everything together all you want, but it has to work, and it works on this record and on all those songs.
Yeah, it does. It does. You can't. That's the thing, man. Well, I think we're not doing it just to be different. We're doing it because this is how the songs are written, and this is what the sound that we were after. You know what I mean? We want just be different. That's all. And it works well. You can't overdo the different. You can't overdo the violin. You can't overdo the sax. Has to be placed right, and it has to be mixed right. It can't be. I tell you, man, Ulrich Wilde did an amazing job mixing this album. I'm telling you that right now. Not only did he have to mix all this stuff and make everything heard, but he had to make all of us happy. You know what I mean? So he's sitting in a studio, and we were just, you wouldn't believe the back and forth we did, man. It was insane. But it finally happened, man. I can't even believe it.
I can imagine. I mean, today everybody can record their parts or their instruments from all over the place. You don't have to be in the same room no more, the same studio, the same city, state, or country.
Absolutely.
I mean, have you guys been able to get together yet, all 4 or 5 of you in a room, and just play together to see how it all comes out?
We did all these videos. Actually, did you see? We just dropped a video like 15 minutes ago. In a video.
I didn't even watch it yet. I'm going to put it on after this.
Yeah, check it out. It's released by Ghost Cult Magazine. In conjunction with Ghost Cult Magazine. It's a ripper, dude. It's the first song of the album called King of Nothing, and the video is pretty wild. Our bass player does all the video work for this band, and he's really, really fucking creative guy. But yeah, it's working out. We got a system. See what happens.
And there's a lot of songs on this record too. I think there's like 17 songs. That's a pretty good appetite to whet.
Yeah. So if you're into vinyl, the record's going to be the double vinyl. So that's killer. All my friends, they don't even listen to CDs no more, dude. It's all about the vinyl.
I know. It's great.
But and for me, it's pretty cool to be a part of it. Just to hold a CD in my hand, dude. That I was a part of after 20 years of not doing anything. It's a really, really good feeling. You know what I mean? Back to your question about being excited to it. Man, when Ulrich sent me those CDs and I was looking at it, I was going, damn, this is awesome. You know what I mean? It's fucking a long time.
It's a great feeling. And I'm happy that you're back and doing it, Rick. I really am.
I appreciate it, Mike.
Over the last 20 years, I know you've gone back and forth with Exodus a little bit. You've played on some shows with them. You've, recorded some songs on albums. Was there ever any talk of you when you got everything? I know, you took a break. You had to get your life straightened out a little bit back in the day. And when all that was said and done, did you ever think about rejoining the band? Was there ever any talk of that? Or did you just say, it's not really right for me?
I wasn't really interested in doing that as of, till right now. But, I mean, I will tell you this. If and when Exodus does a final tour, you know what I mean? Like when they think about packing it up. I'm not saying what this is going to happen within the next how many years, but I know for a fact that I will be a big part of that. So me and Gary talk about that all the time. So
I'm happy to hear that.
We'll see.
I'm glad for that.
And you never know in this business, man. You just never know. But I'm always there for them, and they know that, and that's all good. And we're all best friends, so we'll see.
That's great. I mean, I'm not looking for Exodus to end anytime soon, but knowing that you could be a part of that, it's maybe say, hey, okay, I'm ready for that too. I don't mean it in a bad way.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it'd be fun. I tell you that the music's not easy to play. You know what I mean? So it's like I got to keep my chops up for that shit.
Well, you created it, so you would know.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But it's sure is fun music, man.
I know it is. Hey, Rick, I'm not going to keep you. I know you got interviews to do all day long, and they got you on your toes. But that's always a good thing, That's a great thing, actually.
Hey, listen, I'm on Facebook Messenger, dude. Anytime you want to reach out and hit me up, just hit me up. We'll talk.
I will absolutely do that. I can't wait for DieHumane to work its way over to the East Coast because I'll be right there front and center.
So, hey, how's it being received there? What are people talking about?
I've been playing it on my show because I got it a while back, and people absolutely love it. They're like, "Are you sure this is Rick Hunolt?" I'm like, "Yeah, it sure is," and they're like really thrilled over this so far. Getting a lot of good feedback on it.
Seriously?
Yep.
Thank you so much, dude. Man, that's phenomenal news. I appreciate it. I can't wait to tell the guys that they're going to be really happy. That's awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for helping us out, bro. You have no idea what this means to us, man. It's a big deal, and I appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you guys, man. Seriously.
I've been there with you from the beginning. I'll be with you to the end, so you don't worry about that, buddy.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, Mike. Like I said, reach out, dude. I'm accessible. I'm so easy to find on Facebook.
I absolutely will, my friend. You take care. You have a great afternoon.
All right, Michael.
Been a long time since I heard saxophone in a song, at least a metal song. All right, there you go. Rick Hunolt. Everybody thinks it's Hunolt, but it's like Hunolt. That's the proper way to say his last name. All right, we got to get the Rocky Shades in a little bit. We're going to play some more music. Adam from EXE, and like Iman always says, if it isn't EXE, it's not metal. Send me over some new music that they're working on for the third full-length record. And I have to tell you, I know a lot of people did not care for the EP that came out, The Anti-Hero of a Thousand Faces, back in 2015. We had them all on the show. We had the whole band on the show back then with the new singer PJ. This new music is classic, old school EXE. I mean, when he played it for me, I mean, Adam is doing all the singing on this record. They didn't feel it was right with PJ on vocals because it's a very old school sounding record. And when I told him, I said, you know what? I said, Adam, this sounds like, it should have been out 30 years ago. He says, it was. It was supposed to be a lot of the songs from the third record that should have came out after Sicker Than I Thought that we never did or got to. So they reworked a lot of those songs. Adam is on vocals right now. I don't know if he's going to do it on the record or if he's just doing the vocals now in the studio because they haven't found a new singer yet. But it sounds incredible, and you're going to love it. I mean, it's definitely classic 80s old school EXE. So I'm getting excited to hear this when it comes out. All right, I'm starting to lose my voice, so let's, get some more music on. About a month ago, we had Paul Duddle on the show from Invasion and Rugrat. He was talking about his new band, Divine Oblivion, that they were going to have like this whole Dungeon and Dragons theme based around, the songs and, the whole get up on stage and everything about it. So he sent me over a couple of the new tracks that are going to be coming out. He's shopping it around to a label right now. I have to tell you, this is some really, really good stuff. I'm just going to grab one of the songs that he sent me out of the 3 or 4, and we'll get the rest out as the weeks go on. But here's Divine Oblivion, Soulless One.
Just as well to be
Mag, Seekers of the Truth, off that great debut record, Age of Quarrel. And right before that, my good friend Steve Gaines with Abattoir, Game of Death. All right, you know what? We're really gonna turn the tables here on the music. We're gonna get on "Do You Want My Love" by Wrathchild, then talk to Rocky Shades. We're probably gonna want it running late tonight to about 8:30 because Rocky could talk, so it should be a good long interview. But here you go. Let's do, like I said, "Do You Want My Love," and then we'll talk to Rocky Shades right after this.
Do ya want my love? 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 Give me a spotlight, I'll give you my all. Give me power and glory. You got my picture upon your wall. Now here's the true life story. Don't you know? Can't you tell that I'm a lover and I love so well? Do you want my love? I'm the kind of guy that you've been dreaming of. Do you want me? Do you need me? Do you want me? Do you want my love? My name is Trash, and I'm at the gas. Do you know what I mean? Come on, babe, kneel down and play to your sex machine. Don't you know? Can't you tell that I'm a lover and I love so well? Do you want my love? I'm the kind of guy that you've been dreaming of. Do you want me? Do you need me? Do you want me? Do you want my love? And all I really wanna know is, do ya want my love? Do ya want my love? Do ya want my love? Do ya? Do you want me? Do you need me? Do you want me? Do you want my love? Do you want me? Do you need me? Do you want me? Do you want my love? Do you want me? Do you need me? 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 Do you want my love? Want my love?
Hey, Rob, it's Mike. How are you?
I'm all right.
I don't know how to use the audio, the video, so if you don't want to use it, I have no idea how it works.
Oh, you're like me, you're a total technophobe.
Have no idea how technology works. I use 2 cups and a string still.
That works for me, don't worry.
Oh, that's great. It's been a long time since I've spoken to you, since you've been on the show, but I'm happy that, you know, you really didn't go away anywhere, but you're back officially as just Wrathchild again, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's taken a long while to get it all sorted, but now it's sorted. We can move forward with it all.
That's a great thing. I mean, this has to be the longest roller coaster ride of any band's career. 43 years, a lot of ups and downs over those decades, but you're still doing it, and that's impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's within your heart, then what I've noticed today is there's a lot of nostalgia trips going on, and it's not a case of like it's still in the people's heart. It's more, how much money can we screw this time around, sort of thing. Well, we've never been like that. Yeah, we've never followed trends, but we always follow our heart. So if we hit a bump in the road, then it's a genuine bump in the road. And I've actually got a version of the band now that kicks ass better than it ever did.
And it's a five-piece now too, which makes the band a lot heavier sounding, I'm sure, and gives it that little extra oomph that you might have wanted.
Well, I always wanted a five-piece, but from day one, each of the guitarists that teamed in Wrathchild, they wouldn't work with another guitarist. They wanted to be the Eddie Van Halen stroke Steve Stevens, and I always had that vision that if you've got a rhythm and you've got a dual lead effect, you can do far more with it than if you just got one man that tries to do everything.
True. I mean, I guess that's where the ego comes in, where you put yourself first ahead of the whole band as a unit. Because if it would have gave you that extra sound, then you're going back to Phil being like the original guitar player that most of us know from the early days, and then Lance, during those classic '80 years. You had two guys that were really just more thinking about themselves and their start point than the music and the sound of the band.
Yeah, this is where all the bones of contention arose. When the band first got together, we had an idea of what we wanted it to do. And obviously, each member then becomes like a piece of a jigsaw. And as the jigsaw starts falling apart, then the members start inventing more of an importance for their role than they really should do. I'm a man that looks at the big picture. I mean, let's take the third Wrathchild album. We brought in a friend of ours from the band Grim Reaper to do some backing vocals because he could sing higher bits better than I could. Now, I know vocalists that would be frightened by that concept. It's like, oh, that guy's so much better than you. He's really going to show you up. Well, I went for the big picture. That the whole song worked because he did those pieces. But this is what a lot of band members don't do. Instead of saying, if we'd have been two guitars and not one, we could have done this, not, we are that sort of thing.
Sure. I know you're talking about the Delirium record with Steve Grimmett, who did a lot of the backing vocals on the album. It was a great sounding record. And you're right, it does take a lot to say, hey, I don't mind another singer coming in to contribute because it's going to make everything sound better. Because you're thinking of the band and putting the band first, while other guys didn't do that.
Right.
And when you think about the 80s, I should say, as a whole, I mean, when you go back to the very beginning, when the band got started, coming out of the 70s where, glam rock was really taking off. You had Gary Glitter, The Sweet, you had a lot of other bands at the time doing stuff. You guys kind of took what they were doing and said, let's make it something new and different that's going to happen now, maybe in the future. And you kind of threw it all into a blend and came up with what Wrathchild was, musically and image-wise. It was something completely new.
That's exactly what it's all about. You just hit the nail on the head better than anybody I've ever spoken to in my life. A lot of people think that when you put a band together like Wrathchild, it's this like divine inspiration, and you literally sort of say, "Oh, I've just invented this concept." It's a sum of all its parts. You with a band like Wrathchild, and I expect Crew did the same thing, and Wasp did the same thing. All their early influences formed the next layer of the cake sort of thing. So with us, I was raised on the 70s glam. That's where my, love for catchy songs came from. But I also had hair that was carried over from our classic punk band days. I even did a spell with one of our classic punk artists, Discharge, for a while. And they had the biggest hair I've ever seen in my life. So when these hair metal bands start patting themselves on the back and say, oh, we had the biggest hair in the world. No, the punks had the biggest hair in the world.
That's true. We just had it going down. They had it going up.
Exactly, yeah. And they also knew how to endure the pain of getting the spikes. There's one thing back combing your hair and putting shitloads of hairspray in, but There's another concept when you twist it into spikes and put sugar soap in. That stuff it's beyond painful. When you start to sweat on stage and it starts pouring as a syrup into your
Yep.
face, that's not nice.
Not at all. You know, Rob, you were just talking about, like, when Motley Crue did it also and stuff like that, but the difference is that Wrathchild, to me, invented it. You guys started it. And, down the road, other bands, maybe they didn't know who Wrathchild was in America back then because we
No.
didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. So you really didn't know about what was going on, even from city to city or state to state in your own country, never mind across the world. But you guys kind of invented that. And, when you think back, I mean, first time I heard the band, I'm like, oh, the music doesn't match the image. The music is a lot heavier than I thought the image would be. But you guys just did what you wanted to do. You didn't fault any trends. You guys just said, hey, we're going to make the trend.
Well, that was exactly it. I mean, it sounds cliche and twee to say it out loud, but we actually wanted to be the band we couldn't see. We've heard Wasp say the same thing. We heard Kiss say the same thing. We heard Motley Crue say the same thing. But when we said it, there was nobody like us out there at all. It's quite easy to say, oh, we were the first, we did this, blah, blah, blah. I've read so many articles where these glam so-called icons have taken all the credit for inventing everything. With us, it was a case of it sort of invented itself simply because there was no other direction to take it. It's like I've said previously in like documentaries that our glam scene, when it changed from like the classic Sweet, Slade, T-Rex, it got a bit lost. It went a bit sort of bands wearing the girlfriend's clothing. There was no real outrage. There was no real, what's the word, shock value.
Yeah.
It was just a case of like men getting away with wearing women's clothes the way the Dolls did, but in less of a cool way. That they're like wearing a fancy scarf, or they're wearing the girlfriend's jeans, or they're wearing, a crop top or something because they're so thin they can get away with it. But nothing had a shock value. So what Wrathchild did, and I pat ourselves on the back for this all the time, because people say like, oh, your stage gear, it looked like it was do-it-yourself flipping, made in the shed sort of thing. And we said, well, it was. Said, where would we have bought our stuff? There was no internet.
That's right.
I said, you fans today, you've got it easy. You just pick up your laptop, you pick up your phone, and you go, oh, I fancy a spike wristband. I fancy a pair of stack heels, and you just tap it in, and somewhere in the world, somebody has got that item. When we formed, we had to go to markets, we had to go to auto shops, we had to go to sex shops, we had to go to pet shops. We literally put anything we could find that had a spike, a chain, or anything cool, and literally soup it up. And I spent a lifetime literally making my own stage gear.
Yeah.
And because we've now got outlets where you can just buy this stuff, I buy fancy stage gear to wear normally. I still make my own stage gear because nobody else can get close to what I make.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent 8.5 months making a waistcoat.
Wow. That's
It's
amazing.
got 3,500 studs on it, and it's got 15 different types of studs and spikes. Who even thinks of that sort of thing? Who even has got the patience to do that? And my ultimate success was personally sewing 256,000 sequins on a coat.
That's crazy. I want to be a singer. I want to join a band. You also have to be a tailor, a seamstress, an engineer, a mechanic, and everything else. Because it was all DIY back then. It was all do it yourself.
It was, yeah. And when you wanted to change your stage gear, like, when you, let's use, say, Twisted Sister and Motley Crue as an example. They've got like an image, and then suddenly they're doing the second album, and the image has changed. But basically, the image has changed because the record company has pumped in so much money into a designer to make all this stuff. What we had to do, we had to take what we'd already got and go back to the workshop and start changing it into something else. So let's say outfit one was an original cat suit from, say, a sex shop that we'd souped up with fur, chains, leather, and whatever. We'd then have to start cutting holes in it. We'd then have to start putting different studs, different layouts of chains and stuff. And this is what we did, outfit after outfit. We literally just pieced together the strangest things. And I've recently looking at the Wrathchild diaries and seen some of the really, really dodgy pictures that nobody's seen of the band. And I thought, how did we get away with wearing such shocking clothes?
That was the time back then, and that's what it was all about. And you know, like I remember getting, I think it was Stack Hill Strut when it came out in '82 or '83 was the first record I bought by you guys. And you know, back then you bought records by the covers, by the image that was on there, because like I said, you didn't know who a lot of the bands were. And I remember putting it on and saying, "Wow, I'm really into these guys." And then a year later, you know, the first full-length record comes out. And I think that's when everything kind of started. Maybe that was the beginning of the end or the beginning of the downfall with heavy metal records, because they seemed to be more in the way than they were helpful.
The trouble with heavy metal records was when we sort of personally insulted the guy that runs it. This was simply because a bigwig record label wanted to buy the band, and the way they tend to work is any little people along the way, they'll just steamroll over them and hope they'll roll over like a dog ready to have their tummies patted, sort of thing. And this didn't happen with heavy metal records. You know, we had RCA America show a massive interest in the band after we started getting a lot of attention after the Stack Attack album. I was quite surprised that we got attention after the Stack Attack album, because the finished version of the album wasn't the version of the album that we recorded. And we've stated this so many times, and it's such an easy thing to say, but somewhere along the lines, what we recorded and what came back to us after the so-called pressing and when they get sent to another country to be turned into a record, it lost so much. It was very, very powerful when we left it in the studio. When it came back to us as a record, it was thin as fuck. And basically, we just thought, what have you done to our record? And then we had to carry that. We had to carry that record. And people used to say, look at your image and look how the music's sounding. The two don't go together. But we sounded like that we should do live. We just didn't capture it on record. You know, what we thought we captured on record got butchered. And I spoke to Phil Lewis of LA Guns, and he reckoned the same thing happened to them with the first LA Guns album. Their material on the first album is like cast in stone. They played it live. It was, you know, it was the best of the best. But what came back to them as a finished product was quite thin and lifeless compared to how it sounds on stage. And that's heartbreaking for a band.
I can only imagine. Do you think that had anything to do with Robin George, or was that beyond him or past his point of working with you on the album?
Well, we come to another bone of contention now. Robin was a great bloke. Completely the wrong choice for a producer for Stack Attack. Definitely. What I discovered about Robin was he was just working on techniques for his album to be. The one with the single heart line on. And he used a lot of techniques on our album that he was going to use on his own. And I don't think it came across very well on our album, because we're not a light, you know, pink fluffy slipper band. You know what I mean? And some of the production, he actually turned into sort of pink fluffy slippers, whereas we played it sort of, you know, chain driven new rock boots sort of thing. And, that combined with then sending it to a cheaper pressing plant, which I've since discovered that can do the job as well. If you don't go to a decent pressing plant, they can bollocks it up as well. So put the two together, and what we left in the studio comes back to as a thin imitation. And I've had to carry that for life. You know, people have said to me, look at the production of the Bistucks, look at the production on Delirium. If only Stack Attack had that kind of feel. So that then got me thinking, why don't we redo a better production of Stack Attack?
Yeah.
Then I run into another brick wall. The guy that owns the music rights, which is the guy from Heavy Metal Records, thinks that if we do anything new with old material, we're affecting the legacy. Reading the small print, that basically says I can't sell something that sounds crap on recording if you go and record a much better version. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Well, a part of me kind of, I sort of agree with that in a way. When you take something that was classic and tamper with it, you never know what you're going to get. But this was right around the same time. All you wanted to do is make the record sound the way it was supposed to sound. You didn't say, we want to redo it because we messed up. We want to redo it because you guys messed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that.
But basically, once you've spent the budget on the so-called product, that's it. That's done then. I don't understand the business element of what goes on. No real money ever exchanges hands. It's all electronic. But basically, it's a case of like, you've spent the money, we've made the product. If you want to do another product, then we're quite happy to, once you've got the songs, redo another product. And we're like, we could save this product if you just let us. And it's like, no, we're going to sell the product as it is. If you want to do another one, when the time comes around, do another one. And we then have to carry the fact that this thing did not do the job it was supposed to do. Now, bear in mind, we did a small tour with Wasp, and they were launching their first album, and their first album is killer. That comes across like, pinning someone down and punching the face in, which is what Stack Attack should have been. Now, if we'd have released Stack Attack at the same time when they released their first album and then to that tour, and both albums sound as mean as they should have, that could have been a serious follow on. But instead, it just became an embarrassment.
Yeah. That just seems to be the way things went. I mean, every band hits a bump in the road. They had some hiccups, but it seems like every time you guys had traction going back then, it was something else. And did that ever distract you from like saying, hey, maybe we should just put this thing to bed and give it up because, every time we do something, we're getting set back 2 steps every single time. And, when The Biz Sucks comes out in 88, it was the later part of the decade, and the title could not be better because it exactly showed where you were and where the band felt about the music business.
Well, I named the titles of the albums. The Stack Attack album, we give that plaudit to Jeff Barton because he, from Sounds, he wrote a feature about Wrathchild early on, and he called it the Stack Attack. Now, basically, I've had to explain to a lot of people that don't understand what stacks are. The Stack Attack is basically these crazy looking dudes in stack heels and weird clothes hit the road, hit the world. That's the first time you said that's the Stack Attack, right? Now, after all the trouble we went through, you'd think that would kill a band off. But we were so strong at that time, and we were so, the word, not convinced we could save the band, but we were determined that we weren't going to let these people destroy us. So we went off the road for like 4 years, reconstructing the next album, which was The Biz Sucks. So basically, I said when we came back and we did this, new album, I said it's got to be called The Biz Sucks because that is just what we've become to learn. The biz does suck. Now, ironically, I've got a song with the new Wrathchild that says the biz still sucks. Every time I sing it, it makes me smile because it's like, yeah, we've come this far down the road and we're talking into like 40 years now, and the biz still sucks.
And nothing changed.
And then the reason the third album was called Delirium was just when it looked like we were finally getting away from the record company that caused us all this trouble, we discovered that the people that were interested in us, because of all the legal wrangles and everything that was going down and the band sort of imploding, and it was on the cusp of the grunge thing just becoming, a flower. It hadn't even come to fruition, but you could see that grunge thing was just niggling under the surface. So we're talking sort of like 1991. I think Wrathchild finally called it a day in about 91. Even though various members of the band said it carried on, you can't find any documented gigs and you can't find any recorded stuff from 91 till about 2009. So that to me is not carrying on.
No, not at all.
Basically, we then had to do what we thought was a contractual obligation album, so that to say goodbye to the record label, we owed them this one album. So we called it Delirium because that's the state we were in. We were in this delirium, you know, and ironically, the production was the best we've ever had. And if we'd have done Stack Attack with that production, then I think we could have saved the product a million times over. But like I said, the guy who owned the music rights decided that anything that was old gets retouched. It spoils the legacy, so it doesn't want it touched, wants to do new stuff. And obviously people still want to play the stuff off Stack Attack. We wanted to make it better, so the only way we could do that was just do this stuff live. That's part of the reason I bought a new Wrathchild back, because I wanted people to hear this stuff the way it should have been played, you know, with some bollocks, not that fluffy tapping around, you know, in your back garden. We want a real battle, musical battle going on, you know. It's like music warfare.
Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to get that with this new lineup. And you know, I always thought Wrathchild kind of ended around 90, right after Delirium, because that's when you were kind of in Discharge, and you know, so we didn't really hear much about the band anyway for that next year. Was that kind of like maybe the final nail in the coffin is when you joined Discharge, that it didn't happen again after that?
Not at all. I joined Discharge because there was a slight hiatus in the Wrathchild camp. The bass player had just put together his little goth band, Bang Bang Machine.
Oh yeah.
And he wanted to do something with that, and we got no problem with that. So because of all the legal wrangles, because all the strain we'd taken as Wrathchild, and we'd become synonymous with the word trouble in the business at that point. When you mention the word Wrathchild, instead of people sort of going, oh yeah, which is what they used to do, it was like a sharp intake of breath. It's like, Wrathchild, really? You know?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, still here. Yeah, and what really happened, to call it a day, was we got to a stage where our gigs were becoming less and less attended because people were used to us having a new stage show and a new feel every year. We couldn't afford that because of all the legal wrangles that had ripped all our coffers bare. And just us in general, we'd reached this stage where we were disillusioned with the whole business. You know, we've been promised lots and not a great deal had been delivered. I was literally helping out Discharge while they had this little problem with their original singer, Cal. But had it have worked, then there was the second leg of an American tour booked. But having looked at the big picture, we talked about big picture earlier on in the interview. I looked at the big picture, and there was a lot of major punk bands trying to go rock band round about that time, and it didn't work. I mean, the Anti-Nowhere League, one of my favourite punk bands, they tried to do it. Discharge tried to go a bit Black Sabbath-y, and they're not the kind of band to work like that. So I had to say to them, if I come to a band, I've got to bring something to the table. If I think that what I'm bringing to the table isn't working and it's working against rather than for, I said, I've got to walk away. I've got to sort of say, this is not doing you any favours. It's not doing me any favours. And basically we reached an agreement where I said, you know, I cannot play with Discharge as a rock band. I'd love to have played with them as a punk band because I still love them as they are today. But as a rock band, they were doing themselves harm. And the same with the Anti-Nowhere League. They released an album, tried to be a rock band. It didn't work. To try and get away from this thing that punk was dying, grunge was coming in. And basically, both projects just ran aground, and we literally took a step back and said, I don't think this can be saved. And we just went on and did a number of different projects until one day the band in its entirety suddenly realized, hang on a minute, people still love this stuff. Why don't we do something with it? Now's the time to do something with it. Grunge had come and gone. We'd come back on the merry-go-round with the glam thing. When the Peacemaker program came out, it really launched a lot of hair metal band careers. So it was just a case of like really looking at everything from a different angle. So I actually thought to myself, now's the time to put together the 2-guitar version of Wrathchild that it should always have been. And that's basically the route I took.
Yeah. Well, like I said, throughout most of the 90s and even into the early 2000s, we didn't hear anything about the band. I know you had other projects going on. You with the Blues Brothers thing. You had, later on, you had Wildside Ride going on years later. I mean, but in 2004 or 5, you hear that there's going to be a Wrathchild reunion. It's going to be the 4 of you again. It's going to happen. Then you started hearing, Rob has got other stuff going on. He can't commit to it. Then a year later, we have Rocky Shade's Wrathchild. So I'm like, there was more to it than that at the time because there was only less than a year in between one thing and the Rocky Shades Wrathchild coming out.
This is where you really need to understand the story now. This is the piece of the story that people haven't got the full picture on. It's quite lengthy, but I'll explain it in its entirety. Round about that time you're talking about, I was approached by Eddie Starr, the drummer of Wrathchild, and he says, the band have decided they're going to put themselves together again, but instead of Lance on guitar, it was the original guitarist, the guy that we had from 1980 to 1981, the guy who went to Persian Risk, Bill Bokins. And they said to me, we think it'd be great if we could get Shades back on vocals. Now, what I said to them was, I'll come to the rehearsal session. We'll see how it goes. Said, if it works, I said, I'm quite happy to reinvent Wrathchild. Wrathchild's a big thing in my heart, sort of thing. It was a very, very big thing. So I went to the rehearsal session and it went really, really well. There was just me, Mark Angel, Phil Bokins and Eddie Starr, and we played some old songs, we played some new songs that they'd just written, and I like the balance, I like where it was going. But then I had to talk honest. I said, right guys, I said, I've still got some dates to do in the Far East with the Blues Brothers. I said, I'm committed. I said, but we're only talking a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, and I'm done, I'm yours. Now, unbeknownst to me, the bass player, all along throughout the Wrathchild career, had viewed Wrathchild as his baby, and I think he got very bitter at the fact that it seemed to be like being called my baby, whereas really it was our baby, as basically the early members of Wrathchild were all early members of Wrathchild. The band was named from a brainstorming session. Nobody came up with like, hey, you're joining Wrathchild. When I auditioned to team up with the original bass player and the original guitarist, they just failed a Battle in the Bands competition in a band called Sinner. Now, I think they could only have failed on the looks front because musically they were really, really good. And basically they said, like, from that, they got an idea of putting another band together that was more visual orientated than musical. And this is where the glam thing starts to come in. Now, while I was on the Far East tour, I was replaced by a complete unknown, which then goes on to record another Wrathchild album, which a lot of people have said if I'd have recorded those tracks, it would have been a much more interesting album than it turned out to be. Because
Yep.
one, I would never have let the production have come out as bad as it was, and two, my co-writing skills would have gone, very
Sure.
nicely on that album. So basically, from that point onwards, they function as this. Well, they don't even function as Wrathchild at that point. They're calling themselves Psycho Wrath. They've actually named themselves Psycho Wrath.
That's right. Yeah.
So I had a private meeting with the bass player, and I said, "Are you going to do anything with the band Wrathchild?" And he point blank said to me, "No." So there and then, I put my own version of Wrathchild together. We did one gig, and within one gig, the bass player shut us down, said he'd already got Wrathchild. I said, "You're called Psycho Wrath. How can you have Wrathchild?" Unbeknownst to me, he'd trademarked the name, the logo, everything, and virtually stole it off the band. So I then started working under my own Rocky Shades Wrathchild, but then thought to myself, two Wrathchilds, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work at all. I saw it with LA Guns. I've seen it with Rat. The list's endless. We've seen it with Skid Row. We've seen it with Faster Pussycat. We've seen it. There's so many bands where it just wouldn't work if you had like three versions of the band. So I thought, okay, he can run with Wrathchild because I know that within a year he will kill it, because I know how he works. I know how little he respects his band members. And I thought, let him kill it after a year, and then even if the trademark's taken and he's got it for like 10 years, I could still get it back later. We'll just wait in the wings sort of thing. So then I put together Wildside Riot. Now, Wildside Riot was my perfect band. That was Wrathchild and some. It was Wrathchild for grown-ups, basically. It was two guitars. There were some great songs. There was a great feel on stage, some real class musicianship. So basically, it was no surprise that Wildside Riot would eventually morph into my version of Wrathchild. Now, let's turn the clock on another 10 years. I'm doing okay with Wildside Riot. We're getting things going. I've started doing Rocky Shades Wrathchild so that we can play the old Wrathchild material for the people that want the old Wrathchild material. Because basically what happened with Wildside Riot, we was playing the odd Wrathchild track here and there. And people said to me, "You play quite a lot of Wrathchild in your set." I said, "Yeah, I love the Wrathchild stuff." They said, "Why don't you just go out and play the Wrathchild stuff?" I said, "Well, I love the Wildside Riot stuff as well." And he goes, "Yes, but you could go out as Rocky Shades Wrathchild and play some Wildside Riot stuff as well as the Wrathchild stuff." And I thought, that sounds quite doable. That sounds a good concept. I'll run with that. So we reached 10 years plus, and a management company contacts me and says, you're going about as Rocky Shades Wrathchild. I says, "Yeah." Says, "Well, why don't you just go out as Wrathchild?" I says, "Oh, just don't go there. Legal wrangle after legal wrangle. We'll be getting back in the ring. We'll be back in the playground." He goes, "I've got a fact for you." He says, "Both your trademarks ran out in 2019. He spoke to me last year." So straight away I thought, oh, okay. Let's not telegraph our moves. Let's get it back. Let's get the whole thing back. And that's what I did. I trademarked the logo, the name, got it all back on side, and now I've put together a killer version of Wrathchild. People say to me, "Why can't we have the original version of the band back?" It's just simple facts. the drummer has retired, the bass player won't even speak to me, and the guitarist has now got a new love for the blues. So you cannot have the original Wrathchild back. It just won't happen. Plus, there's only one person out the original four that still carries the flag for this genre, and just check out the pictures. I'm your man.
Absolutely. I have to scratch my head when you tell that story. And I'm like, what would possess? I mean, it was Mark was the bass player. For people that don't know, what would possess him? And you have a second chance to come back again after everything kind of died down with the grunge movement, and our music is making a resurgence. Why would he not wait for you, the original singer of the band, to be available? And why would you not? And why not wait for Lance? Why not get Lance involved? Phil, I know he founded the band too. He was an original member, but he was only there for a short amount of time and didn't play in any records back then.
That's right. Now, I'll tell you why he did it, and this is what brought a fact home that I was totally unaware about. He viewed me as stealing the ball off him. He always thought Wrathchild was his baby. I don't know why. If he'd have said from the start it was his baby, we'd have understood. But on no account in the early days did that man say, now this is my band, this is my band. He was quite happy to just run along with the band as a band. And all of a sudden, he's got a chance to get Rocky Shades back in the camp, which is what the other band members wanted. But as soon as I said I wasn't available, his eyes lit up. It was like, I can get rid of him again.
Oh, God.
The other guys wanted him back. I never wanted him back. The other guys wanted him back because they know he can not only do the job, he can tick all the boxes, but he saw an excuse to get rid of me. I mean, if he'd have got rid of me for somebody better, then I'd have thought, yeah, fair play. Like if I was suddenly reading Rocky Shades has been replaced by Sebastian Bach or Gary Cherone, I'd be like the first to step back and say,
damn,
whoa, yeah, I'm on the way to the doll. You know what I'm saying? No, he's replaced me with this complete unknown bloke from a complete unknown band, and I'm thinking, well, this can only telegraph one thing. This is basically saying you are so bitter about the baby being in my possession, as opposed to people recognising it as your baby. You just want to scupper this whole project, and that's exactly what he did. And
absolutely, yeah.
He basically took a band that was working and destroyed it. I mean, I've spoken. He created a war between me and that singer. Unfortunately, he came in to a war zone, and when I got to know him better, I realised what a nice bloke he was. And when he got to know me better, despite what he'd been told and pre-groomed about, and all the propaganda booklets that have been thrust in his hands, he suddenly realised I'm actually a nice guy. I'm actually a reasonable guy. So he then realised we'd been played against each other. Now, Lance, he never wanted to rejoin Wrathchild, because once he walked away and he discovered his love for the blues, there was no way he was ever going to touch the genre again. I've met him recently at a Pretty Boy Floyd gig, and he told me, he says he doesn't mind doing the odd guest spot here and there, but he's just not interested in the genre. He doesn't look like the genre. He doesn't want to look like the genre. He's living his age the way he feels he should do.
Yeah.
He's aged gracefully, and he's turned that into his love of the blues, and I've got maximum respect for that, because I love the blues myself, and I've sung the blues myself. I've had a blues rock band. I've sung in a biker metal band that's very blues influenced. So I respect that. So when people say, why didn't you get Lance involved? He wasn't interested. He didn't want to know. Now, here's a fact that nobody knows. Before I put together the new version of Wrathchild, I asked Eddie if he wanted to drum for us.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, nobody does.
Yeah.
People think that I'm not talking to the rest of the band. I don't want anything to do with them. I says, would you like to be my drummer? And he said, no. He says, "I've retired."
Yeah.
His word exactly. Where'd you go from there? What can you do when Lance decides he doesn't like the genre and Eddie decides he's retired? And we now discovered that me and the bass player belong in a ring, rather than in the same band.
That's crazy stuff. You know what's funny? I know it was just recently that you announced that, Wrathchild is back. You have the rights. It's going to be you from now on. Watch it about 6 months from now. You're going to see Mark Angel's Wildside Riot. He's going to go out there.
He can try.
But I'm glad that you put it back together.
I've got one thing he'll never have. My musicians return to me. There's not one of his musicians that he's worked with and upset that's ever come back. I've got my present drummer from Wildside Riot back after all these years simply because he just wants to be in my band.
Yeah, he wants to play. And I'm glad that you got this lineup together, and I can't wait to hear the new music. But going back to what you said earlier, about Stack Attack, how you wanted to go in there and redo it. I know you want to get new music out by this new lineup to show where the band is at now, but have you ever thought about taking this lineup and re-recording in its entirety, Stack Attack?
That brings me on to a point that I was going to raise myself. I can do a live version of Stack Attack. I'm allowed to do a live version of Stack Attack, and nobody can touch me in any shape or form. But if I actually recorded a version of Trash Queen, which we were going to put on the B-side of the new single, just to see how the new band sounded like.
Yeah.
And the guy who owns the music publishing, which is the guy who runs the record label that's been the nail in my heart for evermore, he's basically says, on no accounts can we record any old Wrathchild songs for retail. So we could record versions of Stack Attack songs and put them out on our website for free if we wanted. And we can't be touched for that. But I can also put out something I've already been working on. I've already got like the plans underway. A live version of Stack Attack that is a bit sort of like, do you remember the Live and Dangerous Thin Lizzy album that was supposed to be totally and utterly 100% live, but it turns out had a little bit of doctoring in the studio. And also, I think Strangers in the Night, UFO, one of my all-time favourite live albums, was also doctored in the studio. We could perhaps do a live version and give it a little tweak in the studio. But we've got a single imminent for release, but I've had to recall it for remixing and mastering. We did a job on it, and it wasn't quite right. Now, this single is the first thing anyone's heard from Wrathchild since God knows when. So it's got to be good, and it's got to tick a lot of boxes. So once we've released that single, once we've got some sort of video to go along with that single, we're currently writing an album for the new Wrathchild. We can identify what our signature sound is, get the new Wrathchild music out, and then think about, the nuances of putting the old stuff together. Life in Wrathchild's not simple.
No, it never has been, but I'm glad that you're still doing it.
It never has been, and I don't think it ever will.
But with the new lineup now, I mean, do you look like to move the band into a new direction or a new era music-wise, or you kind of hold true to a little bit of what the band used to sound like? Because you got different people playing in there. You're always going to be the voice of the band, so that's always going to make it sound like Wrathchild or even Wildside Riot. So, do you kind of mix the old with, the new to combine it to get this new sound of the new Wrathchild?
Yeah, what we've done is we've tried to bring the past into the future. I know this sounds like, cliche and could be written on the back of a matchbox, but to get a band to sound credible after being an icon of such a big genre, you have to bring the past into the future. It's no good just being retro, and it's no good just being futuristic. You have to bring that retro into the future, and I think this is what we've done with the new sound. You know, we've got a song that says it all. You know, it's called "Still Here in the Freak Show."
Great name.
Oh no, I named it.
Naturally. That's going to be a good one.
After 63 years on the planet, I'm still here in the freak show.
I'm telling you, there has to be a book in your life, because the stories that you have, they need to be written down and put out there.
Yeah, I've started writing the book, and now we've got a new website. I've started serializing. I mean, I haven't actually uploaded the new pieces yet, but I've started serializing the book on our website, and I'll give a heads up to when I put a new piece in.
Oh, great.
Once the whole thing is complete on the website, I'll then probably have it trimmed down a little bit and made into a book. Because at the moment, the Rocky Shades life story is like the size of several telephone directories nailed together. And no music publisher, book publisher, would even entertain the notion of putting that out in its entirety without a shredding machine and lots of pairs of scissors to cut things and paste things. It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of things I can say, and obviously for legal reasons, there's a lot of things I can say.
That's going to be. I mean, just think, like, you tell these stories, like when you're thinking back and you're putting them down on paper. Do you ever say to yourself, "Wow, I can't believe I did that," or I just barely remember that, but now it starts coming back to you. And you're like, "Wow, I was like really did some crazy stuff back then." Well,
I've got a really good memory, which surprises me, because I had a major stroke in 2016, which not a lot of people realise, but it's only left me with a little bit of visual problems. Mind-wise, I'm stronger than ever, so it surprises me that I remember so much. I occasionally forget why I walked into the bedroom, but or what program I meant to tape on the television. But
yeah,
I can remember all this stuff. Now I've kept some Wrathchild diaries, so I've also got little heads up of things that went on. But then I'll bump into people that tell me things that I haven't remembered. But then as soon as they start talking, I can see it. I can see it in my mind's eye. And I'm thinking, oh my God, yeah, I remember that. And when it really gets slammed home to you, it's when, say, a rock star or a mild rock star is chatting to you in a bar one day, and they come out with one of your stories. And it's like when I was talking to Becky Bondage of Vice Squad. She's a friend of mine. And she said, how much of these stories are embellished and how much suppressed? I goes, we don't embellish anything. If anything, we have to suppress it because they're so mental. Half the things we did on the road are totally illegal now. Like people say, we've heard that Wrathchild have been labelled as like the most dangerous band in the UK. Why is this? So we have to say, okay, you've been brought up with bands like Wasp and Crew, and you've seen some dodgy effects and you've seen some safe effects. Now let me tell you what Wrathchild was about. We were just fucking crazy. We had real barbed wire as a barricade on stage so that it looked like a futuristic setting. We had real nails and blades in our stage gear. And when people at the end of the night were saying, we got caught on your barbed wire, and we thought it was like pretend. It's actually like taking bits of our skin off. And we're like, where do you go to get pretend barbed wire? I want a reel of pretend barbed wire from the pretend barbed wire shop. They're looking at my stage here, like on the Stack Attack video, the shoulder piece with the massive spikes.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, I bet that's like Kiss. They're only acrylic, or they're probably made of rubber. No, that's a Tiger Cub motorcycle mudguard sawn in half with 6-inch spikes in. And I know because one of our fans pulled me over the barbed wire one night when he tried to shake my hands, and I nailed him to the floor. I literally nailed his hand to the floor. And I met this guy years later thinking, if this was like now, we'd be looking at lawsuits aplenty. But yeah, we're talking back then. There was no like health and safety. And he comes over to me and he relates the story. And I says, he's sort of like very small. And I'm thinking, I hope I didn't stunt your growth by falling on you. And I said, have you got any other lasting effects of our meeting? And he shows me his hand, and he's still got the hole. Yeah, the mark where the hole went through his hand. But when I nailed him to the floor, he gets up, and the blood's pumping out this hole. And I went, oh, look, stigmata.
He's got a lifelong story he could tell his kids and his grandkids that he's got a hole in his hand from fucking shades.
Everybody. I mean, even Lemmy used to tell people that he met me in the early days. I mean, okay, I was nothing compared to Lemmy, but we met at a Motörhead gig at a nightclub in Birmingham where all the big bands used to come through. And the first Motörhead album had just been released. And I don't know whether you agree with me, but the first Motörhead album to me sounds quite punky.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the fans got very confused because the people that turned up for that first Motörhead gig were all punks. And I looked like a sort of cheapened down version of Lemmy. I'd got like the leather hat, I'd got the little bit of facial bum fluff that you can like grow at that early age. I think it was about 16, 17 years of age. And I'd got a brass bullet belt instead of the chrome one that he wore. And I'm stood at the bar watching these punks, and suddenly Lemmy walks over. This is the first time we made contact. And he just taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, what the fuck's going on here then? And he's been telling that story while he was alive. The world over, we've had so many like real stars relate these stories back to us. Oh, Lemmy told us this, and, Bruce Dickinson told us that. And it's incredible to think that you've got those kind of links.
Sure, and I forgot that Bruce Dickinson worked with you on one of the videos. It was like right before Delirium.
Yeah, it was Nuclear Rocket from the Biz Sucks.
How did that come about?
Oh, that's another story. I'll tell you the story. You won't believe the story because our stories start with a story and then become like other stories. But okay, you got to picture this. We're on VH1. And they're trying to pretend that there's a New Year's party going down. And we're on at the same time as Tiger Tails. And Tiger Tails were friends of ours at that moment in time. And we're having a laugh and a cajole. But it's a party with no alcohol. So somebody suggests there's a pub round the corner from where this so-called thing was being filmed. When we went round the pub, who was sat in the corner but Bruce Dickinson? So now we've known Bruce for a long time. I've known him since the Samson days. I've known him, well before he did the Shock Tactics album. Because I remember when he recorded it and showed me the rough masters of that. I knew we got something really special on our hands. And we went to speak to him, and he says, I said, what's Maiden doing at the moment? He said, we've got a bit of a break at the moment. He says, I've just taken on a video company. He says, I'm running a video company. So what's been really cheeky, one of the Wrathchild members said, well, why don't you film our next video? And I'm thinking, you've just asked Bruce Dickinson, one of the biggest rock singers in the world, if he'll film our next video. And I'm thinking, oh, the ground open up now sort of thing. And Bruce goes, what a great idea. And then we start working on stories and stuff, and it just gets weirder and wilder. And in the end, we went for this like almost silent movie type thing, and it was just amazing. We filmed all the stuff in London. All the stuff that you think is live is actually in the courtyard of one of his houses that he had in Hammersmith. So not only did we get filmed by Bruce, he was behind the camera. He stars in it as the peace protester in the flowery dress and the blue wig. And he also let us go to his house and have proper shots taken in his back garden. I mean, come on. That's worth a story on his own.
You'd have to think that, at that time, Iron Maiden was at its peak, I mean, the late 80s,
Yeah.
with the late 80s, that would help the band, Wrathchild, out a little bit, like getting them, getting a little bit more attention towards the band.
But here's something that a lot of people don't know. Only people close to our circle know. The day that Bruce Dickinson was told he got the Maiden job, I did a tarot reading for him, and none of his friends knew what was coming. I did this tarot reading, and as the cards were coming up, I turned the last card over, and it was a death card. It was almost like cliche, but it was a death card as in like massive business change. So I said to him, "Oh, there must be a mistake. I don't understand why this has happened." And his girlfriend at the time that was with him, she says, "Are you going to tell him or am I?" And I says, "Well, I'm missing something here." She says, "He's got the Maiden job."
Wow.
And I'm like, "I just predicted it in tarot cards. How fucking cool is that? How many people in the world can say they were there when they predicted Bruce Dickinson was going to join Iron Maiden?"
Only you.
Only me.
That's great. Oh, my
And
God.
you could ask him that. You could ask him that he'd remember that. Because my ex-wife, after that tarot reading, Bruce and I, we were at a Wrathchild gig at the time. Got a bit worse for wear on the drink, and I ended up in a different city at a party. Although didn't get a chance to tell my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. So that she wouldn't think that I'd been like night owling it or being a bit like naughty, I brought Bruce Dickinson round to explain what had happened. And my ex-wife, she goes around saying, "Well, I've had Bruce Dickinson in my house." And they're all like, "Yeah, of course you have." Like, "Oh no, he was explaining why my bloke was in a completely different city instead of going home."
Oh, that's great.
Right, you put that in a book, people say, "Oh, you're just making this shit up as you go along." But this is true. This is what happens.
Absolutely. And this is why we need a book. That way people could read this
the book's coming, don't worry.
and
The
live
book's coming.
and live a little bit of your life and live through your eyes all these stories. That'd be it's going to make a great book and a great read.
It will, because I don't know whether you've noticed, but when you read people's books, they over embellish things because they think you've got to sell a certain angle. And I mean, the publishers are just as much to blame as they are, because they say there's no sex angle in it, there's no scandal, blah blah blah, and it's like they then go and make you say something about somebody you don't want to say, and then you go and fall out with that somebody just for the sake of selling the book. My book will sell just because it's just full of rock and roll. This is what rock and roll's about, if you're called Rocky Shade.
That's right. Unbelievable stuff. Hey, Rob, I'm going to have to let you go in a minute because my show's
No
only 2
problem.
hours long and we've been talking for over an hour, so there's not much time left for music. But I always have a good time talking with you, man. It's just, everybody joins a band. They want to, leave some sort of legacy behind, and I think that you've done that with Wrathchild. And when all is said and done and our time on this earth is gone, what's the one thing you want people to remember about Rocky Shades?
I want people to know that Rocky Shades was real. Rocky Shades may be a walking cliche. Rocky Shades may be the master of disaster, maybe even the prince of lust. But at the end of it all, everything came from the heart. Everything was real. Whether it worked, whether it didn't work, at the time it was real. And as long as people keep their own lives real and don't try and change themselves too much. I mean, a lot of people aren't very happy with themselves. It's when you try and change yourself too much that you stop being you. And that's what I want people to remember about me. I was always me. As Dee used to say, I'm me. Well, I was, still am.
That's very, very true, my friend. And listen, I've been a big fan of yours since day one. I always will be. When the new music is ready, you let me know. We're gonna play it. We're gonna
We'll
promote
let
it. And
you
we're gonna
know,
get it
yeah,
out there.
you will love the new single. It's great. You will love it.
I
You will
know I
party
will.
on down. It's been such a pleasure.
You too, Rob. Take care. Have a great night, my friend.
You too.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye bye.
Making war like Vietnam. Don't they figure who the hell I am? Clock is ticking out, but that's alright by me. Rocket engine with the fuel injection. Missiles coming my direction. Pretty soon, gonna burn out, don't you see? Well, don't ya? Don't ya? Planets, buzzing, stars are out tonight. In the race for genocide, mankind's doing alright, right, right. Now I'm building a nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket with me. Planets buzzing, stars are out tonight. In the race for genocide, mankind's doing alright, right, right. Now I'm building a nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket with me. I ain't tired of living, yeah. You gotta ban the bomb. Ooh, ooh. It's time for giving, yeah. A judgment day will come. A young day will, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Making war like a Vietnam. Don't they figure who the hell I am? Clock is ticking out, but that's alright by me. Now I got me a nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Hey, na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Na 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 na, put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Got my ticket, gonna put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket with me. Heads down, boys, here comes another one. Woo! Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Na 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 na, put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket. Na 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 na, put me on it. Na 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 na, nuclear rocket.
Wrathchild with Nuclear Rocket. I'm looking forward to hearing new music by the band. Somebody just sent me a message saying, why do you keep calling Rocky Rob? Well, you know, his real name is Rob Barkley, a.k.a. Rocky Shades. That's why. Rocky is a great guy to talk to, and I love it. All right, I want to thank Rick and Rob for being on tonight's show. I'm going to wrap it up here tonight with a little Damascus Steel and the Big Ride. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday if you're not doing anything. I know it's Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S., so I know we'll be having our barbecue earlier on in the day, and actually over the whole weekend we got barbecues to go to, but we'll be here live next Sunday night. Who do we have on next week? Oh, Dan Nasashi from Kings Never Die. Dan, everybody knows him from Mucky Pups, a great New York hardcore band from back in the day. He's got a new project, as well as my good friend and arch nemesis, Evo Evans of Warfare. Evo called me last week, goes, we haven't spoken in a while, I'm coming on. So next week, Evo will be on the show, as well as Dan, so don't forget to tune in. Have a great week, everybody. If I don't see you next Sunday here, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you right after that. Here you go, the Big Ride.